My name is Juliana Nykolaiszyn with the Oklahoma State University Library. Today is Friday, June 16th, 2017, and I'm interviewing Art Hill Jr. As part of a collaboration between the Chilocco Veterans Group and the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University. And we'll be talking in this interview about some of your experiences and memories of Chilocco and life in the service. Thank you for sitting down with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, Art, could you begin by telling me the year you were born and where you were born?
I was born in 1965. I'd be smart and say hospital, but I was born in Los Angeles, California.
Okay, and can you tell me tell me a little bit about your parents?
Well, my dad is an alumni of Chilocco. He was a class of 57. And my mom was from Detroit, from the Oneida tribe. And so I'm Cheyenne and Oneida. And that was my mom and dad. I was close with both of them. And that was one of the things that I kind of feel was kind of lacking when I was at Chilocco, was that a lot of the students that I went to school with didn't have both parents at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the odd fellows out there that had both a mom and dad at home. I know I had classmates that all they had was grandma and grandpa. And some of them just had an uncle or an aunt. And some of them had family that didn't even care for them. You know, there was ones that never got anything from home. And that was sad to see, but it was just a part of life, and it was a part of the way it was. In a way, it's still like that. I don't know how the kids are nowadays that are in schools, but I imagine some of the same things that we went through back then, they have today.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we didn't have the technology they have.
No, right?
We're not able to text anything, we're not able to record anything, which, knock on wood, we're lucky we didn't. Because there was a lot of smart ideas that we did and found out that they weren't so smart, you know. And it's not recorded anywhere.
That's probably a good thing.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had an older brother, and I had two sisters.
Okay.
Okay, out of all that, I've got one sister left.
Okay.
So that's what I have on the family side.
Mm-hmm.
Both my mom and dad are deceased now, and my brother and one of my sisters are deceased. So me and my other sister were the only ones left, so we're moving forward.
Did you get to know your grandparents well growing up?
I got to know my grandpa on my dad's side quite a bit. And my grandpa was also a Indian school. He survived Carlisle. And he was one of the ones where they punished him if he spoke his language. And it kind of trickled down because my dad understood it, but he didn't teach us. Mm. You know, there were certain words that we picked up on that we know, but other than that, there's not much language-wise. And it kind of seems like it's systematic, or it's a circle that just kept going. Mm-hmm. They got hold of my grandpa, my dad, and then lo and behold, me. So I don't have any regrets. I don't regret anything. You know, I made a choice to go to Chilocco, and I'm glad I went with it. There's a lot of experiences I learned. And I'll tell you about some of them along the way as we continue on.
Okay.
So.
When you were growing up, did you have a lot of exposure to native language, native culture? I know you mentioned a little bit about the language.
Not so much the language, but growing up, we did go to a lot of powwows, benefit dances. Growing up in California, there was a lot of powwows. Not like they are here in Oklahoma, but there was powwows that we went through. Their powwow season starts late in the summer, like end of August, beginning of September. And it lasts through, what I remember, to about Thanksgiving. Here, the powwow season starts end of May and lasts all the way till Labor Day. And there's a different powwow every weekend, all within driving distance here. Mm-hmm. California, yeah, they were within driving distance, but some of them were 3-hour drives, 4-hour drives. But The thing I noticed out there that was big back then was that they were starting to have the powwows in the prisons. And so I remember going to about 2 or 3 powwows that were held in prisons in California. And it was a different experience. Going through the doors, I imagine it's a lot tougher to walk in through the doors even to go into a powwow there now, but back then it was just simple stuff. They just waved us on through, checked us out, and waved us on through. And I don't know what that procedure would be now. I don't even think I would go to a powwow at a prison now.
As a young man, how did that have an impact on you?
It just seemed weird. It just seemed different. Why are these guys behind the bars? Are these bad guys? And yet most of them were nice. Most of them were friendly, you know. But it was something that just kind of, being a kid, you just kind of played it off, and you know, wasn't no major concern. You know, you're worried about who you were going to play with, if there was other kids there, and most of the times there was other kids there. So I think there was only one occasion where I was the only kid. But that's just the way it was.
Now, did your family remain in California, or did they eventually move?
We all moved back.
Okay, when approximately did you move back?
My little sister was born in '75, so she wasn't quite a year. We celebrated her first birthday here in Oklahoma. So it had to be latter football season of '75.
Okay.
So we moved back. And then '76, and then been here in Oklahoma. There was a period there where we did move out of state, and I went to high school and joined the service and all. And I didn't return back here to Oklahoma until it must have been 2001 when I lost my dad.
Okay.
But other than that, I lived in Wyoming for a while. I was stationed here and there in the military, and I lived in other places as well. You know, I lived in Omaha, lived in Albuquerque. There's a big world out there. There's not just Oklahoma, there's not just this area, there's a lot of stuff out there. I can't say I've seen everything, but there's a lot I've seen, good and bad. So, you know, you have to take the good with the bad, and vice versa, the bad with the good. So it goes hand in hand. And I've had a chance, I really have. And I'm thankful that I've had that opportunity to see some of the world, see some of the country. In the military, I did get stationed overseas, and I spent 2 years in Germany. And it's shocking to me that I just found out recently that all the military that was at one time in Germany is no longer there. All the military posts that were there, they're gone. I mean, there used to be a big military presence in Nuremberg. I was stationed close to Nuremberg. There's nothing left in Nuremberg. I mean, there might be maybe a unit or two here and there, but there was major posts everywhere in Nuremberg. And it's shocking to me. It really is. And to think that though, when I was stationed in Germany, we still had the wall up. So a lot has changed since then. A lot has changed till now, and I can understand it and I can see it. And it changed for the good though. The wall's no longer there. We no longer have the Cold War. We've got other stuff going on currently with those guys over in that part of the world, but you know, we're alive, we're here, and we just gotta keep charging forward. That's all we can do.
It's true. Well, you told me that you made the decision to attend Chilocco. Tell me about this.
Well, in 8th grade, I decided I was going to go to school. I was going to go to one of my dad's schools, and I was going to go to Chilocco. I mean, on Concho Indian School down in Concho, Oklahoma. And I got accepted for the 8th grade. I turned around and I chickened out. I had the acceptance papers. I was all set to go. That weekend I was supposed to go. I backed out. I got scared. I didn't want to go. I had friends there, but that didn't sit well with me. And so, you know, got my dad upset. My dad was like, "Well, you already said you were." I told him the next year, I said, well, I'll go to Chilocco. I'll go there, I'll go. But one of the main reasons that why I went to Chilocco was because of sports. Being a freshman, I was going to be going to one of the biggest schools in the state of Oklahoma. At the time, Class 4A was the biggest class here. And the school I was going to was going to be the Class 4A school. Chilocco at the time, they were still Class B here, so Chilocco was Class B. I came down here and I started school that week. That weekend, I played in a scrimmage for Chilocco. And out of that year, I started 9 games out of 10 for Chilocco that year on football. So I got experience, I got playing time, and that was part of the decision. Part of it was the sports. But the other part that played a major part in it was because Dad had gone to school here. Dad was an alumni here. Dad graduated with class of 57. We had been up here a few times for reunions. So I figured, well, I might as well go check it out. And I don't regret it. It's a decision. Like I said, there's a lot of good things, there's a lot of bad things, but overall, it made me who I am today. Mm-hmm. And I can't change that. I don't want to change it. I mean, we all like to think sometimes that we'd like to go back and do things differently. And, yeah, I agree with that. There's things I'd like to do differently, but I can't go back and change it. It's just the way it is, and here we are.
Did your father talk much about his time at Chilocco?
He used to talk about certain stuff that they did, certain things where they hung out at, stuff that they did, and there was stuff that we did that was totally different than what they did. And it was just, there was a lot of stuff that we did share in common, being away from home, getting used to eating the food, getting used to, if you didn't like the food, then you had to, if you were lucky, here when I was here the last year, you didn't go hungry. There was always a seconds table that had food from yesterday's meals, and you didn't go hungry. Unless you had the money, then you could talk to one of the matrons, and if you had 3 people, the matrons would run you into Arc City to go to McDonald's. And there was an interesting story on that. That one time, I gathered up some people, and there was about 6 of us. We went into McDonald's. We asked her if she wanted something. She said, yeah, I want an apple pie. Someone go get me an apple pie. Okay. We came out. Every one of us came out. Every one of us had apple pie for her. You thought she would have been happy if she got mad at us. I only want 1 apple pie. But she was happy. She took all of them. There was like 6 apple pies that she ended up with that evening. I mean, thinking about it now, it was kind of comical and kind of, insignificant. But I remember that. I remember her expression. I remember her getting mad. What am I going to do with all these pies? I can't eat all these pies. But we felt out of our heart. We gave it to her. It was a sign of us. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to do anything, but we did. And it was just the way things were here. We were one big family, mm-hmm. and we still are. And that's going to continue on as long as we're breathing. Simple enough. Mm-hmm. But I always tell people, and I always tell my friends and stuff, that we went to Chilocco, whether we like it or not. We have a responsibility on our shoulders to carry the Chilocco name forward. Whether we like it or not, that's a responsibility that we have. And I know that there are some classmates of ours that I went to school with and everything that could care less about Chilocco, that don't care about Chilocco. For whatever reasons they have, whatever they are, I respect them, because I'm not going to sit here and tell someone that hated Chilocco, you need to come back for your reunion. If they had a problem here and they have something that they didn't like while they were here, they're not coming back for that reason. Mm-hmm. And we can't get rid of that reason, so we just have to accept that that's it. And there are classmates like that right now, mm-hmm. especially from the last class I was in, and I can't say that for every class behind me, but for the class that I was here, the 79, 80 year, yeah, there's quite a few. And I know some of that is kind of like, I want to say like an animosity towards some of the people that were here then. Meaning that, I know I felt it, and I know I seen it, was that I felt like they didn't do enough to keep the school open.
Well, I was going to ask about that because you were in the last class.
And they didn't really try to do anything until a decision was done late in the spring semester. And they sent a delegation up to DC like in February. And we had gotten word, I think, in December. Things should have started in December. Things should have started at the beginning of the year. Because there were rumors going around when we got to school here that they might close it down.
Mm-hmm.
There was no groundwork, there was no anything here. Chilocco didn't even, I don't think Chilocco had an alumni association then. If they did, it wasn't, yeah they did. It should have been included in part of trying to keep Chilocco open. And I don't know if they were scared, they didn't know what they were doing, didn't know how to do it or what. Can't second guess it now because it's already happened, it's already there, but I know that there's some people out there that don't like, that they felt like there wasn't enough done. Mm-hmm. And the person I blame for that really is Senator Henry Bellman. Bellman had a big part in closing Chilocco. He came out with newspaper ads, articles, and he said that it cost an X amount of dollars for each student to go to Chilocco. We have kids in private school that don't pay that much to go to private school. And he brought out some kind of figure that was like $9,000 or $10,000 per student to be at Chilocco. Mm-hmm. And then he brought up numbers for other Indian schools. Well, we could educate that same student for this price versus this price. Mm-hmm. Now, whether how true that was, how true the numbers were and stuff, I don't know. Nobody knows. Somebody higher up does, but they didn't tell us, they didn't say anything. They just left it as such and we went from there. So, yeah, could have been a little bit more done. And, there was stuff done that they did try. Mm-hmm. They really did try. But we have to accept it. It's just the way it is now. I mean, Chilocco could come back in another form, but it won't be the same Chilocco Indian School. It would be a shell of its former self, put it that way.
Yeah.
And there were all kinds of ideas bandied about when they first closed Chilocco. A big Indian university, a big factory area, we'll get an industry in here and have them provide jobs. But I see a lot of it being it was given to the Chilocco Coalition, which has like 5 or 6 tribes. Now, each one of them being independent, each one of them wanted to say as to what happened at Chilocco. So you had a little bit of fight going on from these tribes that wanted to. Again, I'm not from here, and I'm not in the area here. I'm just going from what I saw, from what I lived back to Oklahoma City, because at the time I was living in Oklahoma City. And eventually Narconon got in here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it was. I never did try to come on campus. The one time I did make it here, I made it here in '91, but the campus was closed. So all I could do was stand at the archway and get pictures. None of this was here. Where we're interviewing at was not here. Mm-hmm. None of this was here. So it's totally different to see this like this.
Well, let's go back to your time as a student. How was football?
football was fun.
What position did you play?
I played center and on the defensive line, nose guard, defensive tackle. For a couple of series there, I did play linebacker. I didn't care for the linebacker. I didn't care being a linebacker. I wanted to be on the line in the trenches. I was a big guy, so that's where they put me at. And we didn't win a game that year, but we had fun. But the thing was, towards the end of the year, we started running low on numbers. So the last 2 games of the year, we were Iron Man football. We had 11 players out there. If anybody would have gotten hurt, anybody would have gotten kicked out or whatever, that would have been it. So we finished that year in 1979-80 with 11 players on the football team. 11, just straight 11 of us. And it was tiring. It was tough. It was rough. I mean, but that was just the way we were. We were, and we made the best of it. You know. Granted, we didn't win a game. We went out and had fun. Plus, we got to eat good.
Do you remember your coach?
Coach Colbert.
What was he
Jack.
like?
He was all right. He was down to earth. You know, he cared about us. Well, they all did. And they all had their own way of showing us, you know. And we all gave them respect because they respected us. You know, we tried to do our best, but there were times we were outnumbered. There were times we were playing teams that had 50 players on their sideline, and here we had 14. So he did his best. He did his best with us, and you know, I don't fault him. I still respect him. I don't know if Coach Colbert is still alive, but thank you for showing the game of football. Thank you for showing me the game of football. You know, we had fun. We made the best of it, and those memories I won't trade for anything else. It was a blast. You know, the only thing I would do is that if I could go back and change anything, I would have played a little bit more tougher. But hindsight's 20/20, you know. So what can I say? You know.
Did you have certain classes you really enjoyed, or maybe not so much?
Yeah, there were some classes I didn't enjoy. There were some classes I really did. I enjoyed math and I enjoyed science, the science classes that we had here. Chilocco was a different animal back then. It was a high school, plus also it was a technical school. So that way when you graduated after your 4 years here, you had not only a high school diploma, you also had a vocational certificate. And there were certain ag was one of them, but there were certain vocations that you could get into. There was welding, auto body, homemaking, printing, agriculture. Let's see, welding, auto mechanics. Can't think of the other ones. There was about 7.
What did you do?
I took auto mechanics.
Okay.
And auto mechanics was okay until we had to start working with hot motors. You know, dealing with a motor that is just screaming hot. You got to stick your hand down there and get something out or try to unscrew. That's where I drew the line. I couldn't handle that, but I made through. I managed to make it through the auto mechanics. So I did have 1 year of auto mechanics from here at Chilocco that I did get, but auto mechanics, getting down and dirty and that stuff, that just wasn't for me. You know, I did my best, and first semester I had it in the morning, second semester I had it in the evenings, afternoon, which was afternoon, so it was fun. I learned stuff. I learned stuff that I could still use. You know, I know how to check my air, see if my air, on the AC unit. I don't know how to do all the other stuff with the AC unit, but I know what hose to put on. I can go to AutoZone and buy one of those cans that has the hose on it and charge up my AC unit. I don't have to pay someone $20 or $40 to do an AC recharge. So that was one of the classes I didn't really like. I didn't care for auto mechanics. Plus the teacher that we had, Mr. Solomon, he was a retired Marine. So he was rough and abrasive. You know, he wasn't afraid, and cuss words would fly out at a mile a minute sometimes, and he just, if you didn't do something right, he'd let you know. And I got to like him after a while, but it just took a while because he was used to being military. Mm-hmm. He was used to, telling somebody to jump, and then used to somebody telling them how high. And here we are, these little, being smart alecky, being whatever, just something to pester him. But that's just how we were, that's the way it was. We were just kids too. So.
Was the atmosphere on campus, was it very regimented? Was there a schedule you guys had to stick to?
Not really. We weren't regimented. We weren't, they didn't wake us up like the military at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and have to do this, do that, blah, 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 before you eat breakfast. No. They got us up, we took our time. The one thing that I didn't do here that much is I didn't eat breakfast. Meaning you could sleep a little bit more if you didn't wake right up. When they used to come in, maybe 6:30, maybe 7. Breakfast would last till maybe 7:30, 7:45. And you'd have to come back and you'd have a little detailed area that you had to clean, sweep or mop. And then you'd go back to class. The class would start like about 8:15, 8:20. Then you'll do your regular, if you had classroom for morning, you did your classroom part. And after lunch, you did your vocational part. Or you did it the other way around. You did the vocational part first, and then you did your classroom part in the afternoon. So it just depended on how your class schedule was. I didn't like going to auto mechanics in the morning. I liked it better in the afternoon. So you just decided better with auto mechanics was in the afternoon. And it was fun. I mean, you just made the best of it. It was different. Like I said, it was a different situation. It was different than going to anywhere else. And I learned a lot here. I really did. I did a lot of maturing here. It was wasn't the first time I was away from home, but it was one of the first few times I was away from home. I had to deal with homesickness. I was wanting mom's cooking, I was wanting mom to do my clothes, I was wanting to do all that stuff. But see, I learned that here at Chilocco. I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to do my laundry. I learned how to take care of my hair. I had to. No one else was going to do it. I mean, I had to learn it myself. And I had it rough that first semester because I didn't really know how to take care of my hair. And at the end of that first semester, I ended up with a big old rat's nest on the back of my hair that I could not, no matter how hard I worked at it, I wasn't doing it right because I didn't know how. I went home at Christmas, got taken care of after that. I made sure that I kept my hair, because I didn't want to be talked about, which I was. I didn't want to be treated anyway, which I was. I didn't want, all this stuff. But it happened. But I lived through it, I survived it. And here I am today.
When you arrived on campus, did you know anybody, any other students?
There was a couple students here that I did know at the time. And other than that, I didn't really know anybody else until, must have been about maybe 3 weeks later, a couple more. People I knew had gone to schools before showed up on campus. And so after that, I made friends with some people. There were some people I didn't like. There were some people that didn't like me. And I just made do. Granted, when I was here, I was kind of, I don't know how to put it. I was kind of like everybody's comic relief. I was naive. I was away from home the first time. I had a mom and dad at home. Some of them didn't. Some of them didn't like that. And so needless to say, I caught the brunt of some pretty cool jokes. Got treated different. Got treated kind of bad. And you know, looking back at it now, it was bullying. I was being bullied. But I stood up to it. I did take it. I weathered it. I survived it. And here I am. I'm right here. I'm a work of art. What can I say? Keeping it real, nothing artificial.
Would your parents come visit you at all, or?
They would come check me out on the weekends.
Okay.
Or sometimes after the football games, I would leave with them after the game. There were times I stayed here. One thing that I did have that I really think about now, I always had money. Some of these kids, they didn't have that. They didn't have money. But I had money. I had money that my mom and dad would send me, or money that they would give me when I left home. You know, I can remember trips going home and coming back on the bus, or coming back on the train. And see, back then there was still train service, so you would ride the train into Arc City. And me and the person I rode up today, we were talking about the train. How one night the train was late, and the train didn't show up till about 11, almost 12 in Oklahoma City. By the time we got here and brought back, the sun was coming up when we were getting taken to campus. So we should have been here that night. The train normally left Oklahoma City about 6, and we would end up in Arc City about 10:30. That night, that train came in at 11. We got here, it must have been about 6:30. No time to sleep. They just took us straight, dropped us off at the dorms, and then we'd turn around and go to breakfast. The buses were, it was different. The nearest bus out of here, you either had to go up to Winfield and catch it, it would go some different way, or go to Ponca City and catch the bus. And so they would take us to Ponca City to catch the bus. And they would do that on Friday evenings. And see, like I said, Chilocco was kind of structured different. There was post-grad students here taking the vocational courses. So sometimes those guys would take off and go to the city for the weekend. They would have a van take them to the bus depot in Ponca City. So those of us that had okays from home, they would take us to the bus station, and we would get off, buy our ticket, and just wait around with them. And it was good.
Outside of travel, what could you do with money that somebody who didn't have it, what could you do that they couldn't do?
Buy stuff. Besides buying stuff, that was about it. I always had pop, chips. We'd go to the movie house on the weekends, on Saturdays. And, you know, I was able to buy pop, but they always bought us popcorn. They always bought us pop. Even though it was a small popcorn, that was a small pop, they still bought it. You can't go to the movie house without having pop and popcorn, so you gotta have that to complete the experience. So at least you got that, but I always had enough to buy me a big bucket of popcorn. And that was before they started refilling them for free. So if you went back, you had to pay full price for another full one. But you know, there was a lot of stuff that I was able to do. I was able to do stuff. There was times, and one thing I learned was not to loan money to people because you never got it back.
I bet.
And that was one thing I did. I learned that. And well, there might be a few people that might help me out, might pay me back, whatever. But most of the time, I loaned out. But it was only a couple bucks. And if they quit bothering me for a couple bucks, that was fine because they didn't bother me anymore after that, you know? So, you know, being at Chilocco the last semester, being that they had the word that the Chilocco was closing, they had excess funding. And we had a student advisory committee that was formed. And we did activities on the weekends. They had an indoor fun fair in Oklahoma City. We sent the school down there. Wichita used to have an indoor soccer league team. We sent them up there to watch them. We sent them to Wichita to the mall and a movie. We sent them to Tulsa, the mall and a movie. We sent them to, I think they went to a Tulsa Oilers ice hockey game. And let's see, we sent the senior class to Florida for a senior trip. We sent all the athletes, football, basketball, baseball, softball, all the athletes got to go to Worlds of Fun in Kansas City. And we took the whole campus, staff and all, on 4 charter buses to Six Flags over Texas.
Wow.
So there was a lot of money there. There was a lot of money that was there that was able to, it had to be spent. Otherwise it was going to be turned back. And see, an offshoot of that too, like I said, was the food. We had a lot of good food. Looking back on it, we got spoiled by the food. At least I did. There was a lot of stuff that...
Was everything made here on campus?
Yes.
So did you have a good relationship with the cooks? What do you remember about the cooks?
They made everything good. We didn't go hungry.
Yeah.
We had stuff here. Like I said, if you didn't like what was on the main line, there was a seconds table. And so if you didn't like for instance, I didn't like fish. So if we had fish, chances are there was beans and cornbread on the seconds table. So I would have the beans and cornbread. And, vice versa, they might have liver and onions. And then they might have spaghetti left over on the side over here from yesterday. So I was covered, my bases were covered. There was a pop machine, we got pop with our meals. There was an ice cream machine, we'd get ice cream certain days, certain times. And we used to get the Hostess treats.
Oh.
Twinkies, ding dongs, cupcakes, the pies, you name it, we got it. And then the chips, they weren't shy, we got Lay's chips. But most of the time when they did the Lay's chips, it was out of the big industrial bags, and they had to grab a couple handfuls and put them on you. So there was, like I said, there was food that we got here that, there was a couple items that I didn't get until I got in the Army. They made something here that was like a chicken pot pie, but it had biscuits on top. And it was the meat with all like a chicken pot pie, with celery, carrots, peas, vegetables in it, like a thick gravy. They would give you a scoop with that biscuit on it, give me another scoop on top of the biscuit. Oh, that was awesome. I haven't had that since the Army. And that was, got it here and didn't get it again till the Army.
Wow.
And I haven't had it since the Army. I haven't seen it on the menu anywhere. I haven't seen it anywhere else. I haven't seen it served anywhere else, but here. And here in the Army. And there was another thing too, we got Swiss steak. It was like, I guess it was a tenderized round steak, cooked in tomatoes, with like a breading on it. It was awesome. I mean, we really ate good here. There was a lot of food that we ate. Steaks. The general campus, on campus, we ate steaks at least once a month. Football, we had them after every home game. Chilocco Indian School came here to play us football that one time, and they didn't want to eat with us. I don't know if they were too good for us or what. I don't know what kind of attitude they had or what, but they didn't want to eat with us. Okay, fine, let them go. We got their steaks. We had seconds and thirds that night, so we were loving it up. Well, we enjoyed ourselves that night.
They didn't know what they were missing.
Exactly. And to see the away games, they took us to McDonald's. And we got 2 Big Macs, a large fry, and a large pop. But back then, the large pop was what the medium pop is now.
Yeah.
And the large fry back then is the medium fry now. So it kind of stuff goes in hand, stuff goes different, and you just, I don't know, it's crazy.
What do you recall from graduation?
I didn't graduate from here. I was a baby freshman the last year Chilocco was open.
Oh, okay.
So I was part of the last group that was here, but I didn't.
You didn't graduate. Okay. So you were here your freshman year.
Yes.
Okay.
I was a baby freshman.
Gotcha.
So I caught a lot of flack for being a freshman. Being on the football field, you had to deal with well, every freshman has to do it on football. They got to carry all the equipment in, all the dummies in, all the stuff that's out there. You got to carry that in. So I dealt with that. I carried that in. I did not, it was just certain stuff, just little things.
Where'd you finish up high school?
Well, after Chilocco closed, I transferred to Riverside Indian School in Anadarko.
Okay.
I wanted to transfer to Intermountain Indian School in Brigham City, Utah. But my mom and dad, my mom put her foot down and said, no, if you're going to go to Indian School, you're going to go in-state. And at the time, there was Fort Sill, Chilocco, Riverside, and Sequoia. Wow. When they did Chilocco, they shut down Fort Sill. So we had Sequoia or Riverside to choose from. So I went to Riverside. I didn't want to go to Sequoia. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted to go Intermountain. I wanted to go to Utah, but it didn't happen. Went to Riverside, did all right. I left Riverside after 2 years because they dropped football. My senior year, I went to Crooked Oak High School in Oklahoma City and graduated class of '83 from them.
Okay.
And then I got recruited to play at Haskell Indian Junior College. And I made it to the week school started, and then I quit the team.
Why'd you quit?
Me and the coach didn't see eye to eye anymore. Mm-hmm. And football wasn't fun anymore. And that is kind of a bonehead decision. I kind of kicked myself over. I was over the tough part. I probably just stuck in there and just hung in there a little bit more. I would have made the season. But I can't change it now. It's something that I kind of really kicked myself over. I had an opportunity to play football at the college level, and I didn't do it. I wasn't all state. I wasn't all this or all that. I had to work hard, and I got all district my senior year at Crooked Oak, but I had to work at that. Some of these guys got a natural gift, and it's just natural. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that. Football was about the only sport that I was decent in, that I didn't have 2 left feet, 2 left hands. I played basketball here at Chilocco, but I had 2 left feet, 2 left hands when it came to basketball. I am not a basketball player. And then baseball, Chilocco would have had a baseball team, but we didn't have enough players. We had 10 players. We were going to start the season. 2 players got kicked out of school. Mm-hmm. We were down to 8 players. We tried to recruit. Nobody wanted to come out and play. So that canceled our season. But I would have got a lot of playing time that year. Baseball would have been if we would have had enough players to play baseball, put it that way. And here's what's unique about Chilocco. Chilocco played in a baseball league in Kansas. And somebody told me that a few years prior to that a kid from here at Chilocco made All-State in Kansas in that league. But they weren't a Kansas school. Chilocco was here, Oklahoma. And I thought, wow. But this had happened. So I don't know how.
It's close enough, right?
Yeah.
It's just a few miles.
Yeah. Less than a mile. Less than a mile.
There we go.
Walking distance.
Did you always plan on joining the military?
No.
How did your entrance into the military come about?
I got passed over for a job. I was working at fast food, and one of the guys I had trained in the store less than 6 months before that got promoted up to a manager position, and I was mad. I had more experience than him. I literally had more everything than him, but I kind of feel like it had something to do with it, and it really upset me. And I tried to bring it up with a couple of the managers, and it went on deaf ears. So I said one day, well, I'm not the Army. I don't want anything to do with the Marines. I knew how they were and how they are. You know, nothing against them, nothing, you know, animosity or anything like that, but that wasn't me. I thought about the Navy, I thought about the Air Force, and it came down to it, it was between the Air Force and the Army. And I went with the Army. Going back to the same thing, my dad was in the Army. So I figured, why not? I can do it too. So I followed my dad's footsteps again. I followed his footsteps to Chilocco, and I followed his footsteps to the Army. And I tried to follow his footsteps in life as well. So that was one of the major reasons why I joined the Army.
Did you go to the local recruiting office?
Yes.
Where was that at?
I was living in Omaha, Nebraska then.
Okay.
And so I went and talked to the recruiter. I went down on Monday morning. Tuesday, I did some testing. The following Tuesday, I went back for more testing, and that day I signed up. I was on delayed entry for 33 days. This was in October. I left for basic training in November 1985. And I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, Alpha 383. We had a little saying that I can remember that we used to say. Alpha, Alpha 383, rocking hard and rocking steady, on the move and always ready. Ooh, wow. That was our saying that we had in our unit. So,
were you pretty in shape going into boot camp?
No, I was not. I had a problem doing the push-ups. Everything else I was okay on.
Yeah.
But they worked on me, and I made it through. I made it to basic. Otherwise, I would have been sent to a fitness unit to work on my upper body strength, but I didn't have to. And I completed basic. We started in November. We got to come home for Christmas for 10 days and go back to do the rest of our basic training. So I did 4 weeks of basic, came home for 10 days, and went back and did another 4 weeks. Which is okay, I guess. It's kind of odd, but you would think 8 weeks straight, but no. That's just the way the Army was. I got a buddy that's in the Marines. He says, "You got to go home during basic?" I said, "Yeah, we did." And we did. I mean, I don't know. But there was different things in the military that we got, you know. There's one thing that I remember in basic. Is that one day that there was Alpha, Bravo, Charlie companies, and then there was Delta and Echo. Okay. One day I got sent on KP duty. And when I got into KP duty, there were other Indians there. That whole unit, the whole KP crew that day was Indian. There was, I think, 6 or 7 of us on that KP crew that day. And all of us were Indian. There was about 3 of us from Oklahoma, like from South Dakota, another one from like Arizona, another one from like maybe New Mexico or Utah, I can't remember. But it felt good because all of us were skins, all of us were together. We sat back and asked who wants to do pots and pans. We all raised our hand to do pots and pans. Pots and pans is the one that you don't want in the Army. Because you're scrubbing from the time you get in there until it gets dark out. You're scrubbing these pots and pans and making them clean again. We didn't care. We were back to laughing, joking, terrorizing each other. It really felt good. It really felt good to all of us that day because we were all just, and I don't know if the drill sergeants had something to do with that. I don't know if it was just a stroke of luck. I don't know how you're going to get 7 Indians to do KP at the same time. So there had to be some coordination there, at least I think. But it was fun. I mean, we made the best of it. Granted, you're in a bad situation. Well, you perceive it as bad. Although it's a training situation, and you miss the nuances of being at home or being around friends or being able to laugh, joke, and terrorize around, you know. And we were able to do that in that setting. We got our work done, but we were able to laugh, joke, and terrorize each other. And it just, again, that's something I wouldn't regret. I don't regret joining the Army. I don't regret making that decision. to sign on that dotted line, to raise my right hand and say, I do solemnly swear, I'd do it again. I really would.
How long did you sign up for?
I signed up for 3 years. I signed up, and at the time I was married, and then the so-called wife then didn't want to come to Germany. I extended for 6 months in order to get her over there to Germany. Extended my enlistment. I got all the paperwork submitted, everything approved, everything taken care of. There was a few items that she needed to take care of on her end here, and she didn't follow through. So one thing led to another, bam, we got divorced. But she didn't want to come to Germany, she didn't want anything to do with Germany. She kept flip-flopping. Yeah, I'll go, okay. No, I'm not going, no, I'm not gonna go. Okay, I'll be there. Okay, well, if you're gonna go, you need to get this done, you need to get a passport photo, you need to get immunizations up to date, and you need to check in with that service point so they can get everything coordinated with you.
Well, that had to be hard for you too.
Oh, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was other extracurriculars on her part that came to light that just, I didn't want anything to do. I tried my best. But I moved on, and I got orders to rotate back to the States. But I had to stay that extra 6 months in the military. I could have got it rescinded, but I would have spent my whole 3-year enlistment in Germany. Being that I extended for 6 months, I was able to rotate back stateside. And I served my last year in the Army stateside. And that is apples and oranges.
Well, let's back up a second. After you completed boot camp,
I went to advanced training. I signed up to be a 76 Yankee supply. I went to Fort Lee, Virginia for 8 weeks.
Okay.
And it was during there that I found out I was going to be sent to Germany.
Okay.
And I was scared. I was shocked. I was kind of afraid.
Have you ever been out of the country at that point?
I'd been to Mexico and Canada, that's about it.
Okay.
Which really isn't really out of the country, think about it, But yeah, it was just kind of a shock. Because they came in and announced, okay, we called your names. If we called your name, you're going to Hawaii. Those of you we didn't call, you're going to Germany. Mine wasn't one of the ones they called, so I was going to Germany. We had to go get shots. We had to get everything lined up, and we got orders. Got our orders at the end of the training. Everybody went home for 2 weeks, and then we got shipped over.
So where in Germany did you end up? You said you were close to Nuremberg.
Yeah, I was stationed one of the armpits of Germany. Everybody talks about. There's 3 places that are the armpits of Germany. One is Wildflicken, otherwise known as wild chicken. The other is Grafenbeer. The other is Hohenfels. I got stationed at Hohenfels. I got supposedly one of the worst places you can get sent in the Army, besides the DMZ in Korea. But I made the best of it.
Are you working in supply?
Yes.
So what was your job in Germany?
Supply was to make sure that everybody got inventory, to make sure that if they were missing items, that they got the missing items replaced. Meaning I had to fill out forms to get them charged. They would get a little payroll deduction out of their check for the item they were missing. It might have been an ammo pouch, it might have been a sleeping bag, might be an entrenching tool. And it all varied. People didn't like me at that time after we come out of the field because I had to do those inventory reports. I had to keep track of the linens, had to do linen exchange. There was a lot of stuff that had to go on behind the scenes, and it was worthwhile. It was a fun job. I had other chances to be in other areas, but I didn't choose them. There was one area that they wanted me for a 6-year enlistment. And I was not about to be in the military for 6 years, not no initial enlistment. They offered me helicopters.
Really?
I had high GT scores, high ASVAB scores. And one of the things offered was helicopters. They were coming out as the Blackhawks. So I was a Black Hawk crew member, crew chief. And I would have had AIT for 14 months, 13 months. And I would have had warrant officer candidate school. So I would have become a warrant officer. But they wanted a 6-year enlistment, and I just was not about to do 6 years then.
So supply it was.
So supply was. It was that or choose infantry or indirect fire crew member. And those were 2-year enlistments. That's what I was trying to go out for, was 2-year enlistment. But I said, well, what about 3 or 4 years? Okay, well, 3 years supply. I'll take it. Looked at what it was doing, and I took it. And it was the best job I could have taken.
Really?
I had the best room in the barracks. I could go down to property supply and sign out stuff. I had a couch in my room. I had wall-to-wall carpeting in my room. Not everybody had that. Not everybody had that luxury. You know, I had furniture in my room. They might have just one nightstand and one lamp. Oh, I'd have like 2 or 3 nightstands, 3 or 4 lamps.
It was good to be in supply.
Yes, yes. Membership had its privileges.
Well, outside of work, did you have time for fun?
Yes, after you get through the moping period and the crying yourself to sleep period, and you get tired of wallowing in your own, and you get out. You have to get out. You have to go out and observe. You have to go out and see things. And I did that. I did that when I was in Germany. I went through the moping. I went through the crying myself to sleep at night, you know. Why did I join? Why did I join? Why am I here? You know, and that. It's it sounds funny and it's comical now, but at the time, it was real heavy, put it that way.
Were there other Indians in your company?
In my unit, no. But there was one thing that I was told about my unit. I was in a hot missile battery in Germany. We were about 45 k's from the Czechoslovakian border. They provided air defense support for the cav units that were along the line against Czechoslovakia and other stuff that might have came in. Then it was Cold War time, so we had to deal with the threat from communist and Warsaw Pact units. And there was different stuff that went on. I remember a couple of alerts that happened and stuff, but you just did your job. You did your job. You did what you were told to do, what you were trained to do, and everybody did it. When I was in Germany, we were close. We were very close. We had each other's back. If something would have happened, if something would have went down, and what they like to say in the Army, if the balloon goes up, if the balloon had gone up, I would love to have done it with those guys. We knew each other, we had each other's back, we were close knit. When I got rotated to stateside and whatever, there was none of that. I mean,
just a different.
The unit was ate up. I mean, there was no cohesion, nobody had each other's back. They were willing to tell off on each other. They were willing to throw each other under the bus for whatever reasons. There was no unit cohesion. There was no togetherness. No, I got your back, you got my back. There was none of that. And to be in a unit like that is wrong. I had to put up with that last year I was in the Army.
Well, before you came back stateside, the wall was still up in Germany.
Yes.
Did you feel that tension?
Oh yeah, you could feel it. And there were certain towns that you couldn't go into in Germany. That they used to tell us there were certain towns to stay out of. One of them was outside of Hohenfels. I guess back during World War II, Patton's armor units shelled that town pretty bad. And since that time, they've had a lot of animosity and hatred towards the American service members. Being that I was close to post, you would think that the service members would be able to go there and get places to live and stay out there because there was a lot of that hatred towards the American troops. There were certain areas close up by the Z. Being that Czechoslovakia, we were close to Czechoslovakia, there was a definite no passing zone, no deal that we couldn't go into. There was another area that was the cautionary zone that we had to be careful that you didn't go into. You could get in trouble, but you weren't going to get in trouble like you were if you went to the other one. So you're basically warned if you got into this other zone to back out, to go back the other way. I lost my train of thought now. But yeah, being in Germany, yeah, there was certain things that most of it was just getting used to being in Germany. Mm-hmm. After you first get into Germany, you gotta get used to the language. You gotta get used to the money. You gotta get used to the time difference. And being in Germany, you're in the land of beer. So you gotta get used to the beer. So those are the four major things that I say you have to get used to when you're over there. You know, the money part, the only way you're gonna get used to that is to go out and spend money on the economy. Back when I was in Germany then, there was the mark. And you could get 2 marks to $1. And that was a pretty good rate. When I left Germany, it was a mark 30 to $1. So that you had buying power when I first got there, but that you didn't have when I left. Now they don't have the mark, they're all in the euro, so I don't know what the exchange rate, what it buys, what it doesn't buy. But you had to get out experience on your own. Like I said, you can only sit in the barracks and mope in your own stuff for a while. You have to get out, you have to mix things up, you have to be active, you have to be able to do stuff. But one thing that kind of hindered me in mine, they had activities scheduled. When I was in Germany, they were just starting those NFL football games in London. Mm-hmm. Chicago Bears were getting ready to play that one year, and I was trying to go. I wouldn't put a deposit down on it. I was going to pay up. I was going to go. I was all ready. But they had a duty list come out. Duty roster came out. There was my name on the duty roster on the day we're supposed to be in London. I tried to find someone to trade with me. No, nobody would trade. They were already going to London. So, okay. So I had to go get my deposit back. Some guys went and I didn't get to go. Come to find out later on, it became a regular occurrence. Whenever there was anything going on, I always got stuck on the guard roster. I never made Oktoberfest, because when Oktoberfest was going on, it was on guard roster. It was on duty roster.
So why do you think that was?
Color of my skin. Plain and simple. Mm-hmm. Being Indian, you got a stigma that we're a drunken savage, that we're drunks. And that was what I had to deal with. That I was a drunk. That I was a drunken savage. And so, we can't have a drunken savage go on into these trips and embarrass us, blah, blah, blah. So what happened? Every time they went somewhere, they went to London, they went to Paris, they went to Spain, they went somewhere else. I was on the duty roster for every one of those trips. I didn't like it, but being I just a little PFC, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. They tell you got a choice, you can do this or that, but I ain't getting in trouble for that. That's what I got to take to do it, then fine, I'm not getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. So, you just have to grin and bear it. Came with the turf. I was the one that signed my hand and, signed that line and raised my hand. And way it went. You know, there are places I like to go see when I go back to Germany. I always say one of these years I'm going to go back. And maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'd like to go back for Oktoberfest. I'd like to go see where the wall was at. I'd like to go hang around Munich for a bit. I'd like to go up and see other parts of Germany, the northern part. Because where I was at was in Bavaria, the southern part of Germany. But I'd love to see, there's a lot of stuff I'd like to see. I'd like to go to the places that I wasn't allowed to go with when the unit went. Like Spain, Paris, London. I've been to London, but only because my plane landed there twice. And I only got to see the terminals. But like I said, I was in London Gateway. Just different things that can't really change it. I don't really have any regrets. I don't really have anything that, I just wish that I would have been given a little bit of leeway to take these trips.
Right.
And that's just the way it was again. That's just the way it was.
How long were you in Germany?
I spent 2 years. 2 years in Germany. Yes. The first part while I was moping around seemed like it went by forever. It took forever. The last year, once I learned enough of the language to go to the restaurant and know what I was ordering. I could rest assured know that I could order something and have a hamburger and fries come out. And not have some lady carrying out a big pig on a tray with the apple in its mouth. And so I knew enough of the language, Steaks. I love steaks. And the beef in Germany is totally different than the beef here. I got to know a place in the town I was on post. I got to know the owner pretty good. So I would go in there when I get off, got paid and stuff. Talk to the owner, say, hey, hit me up with your biggest steak. Yeah. He'd come out, I took some friends over one time, and that's where I noticed he didn't give me the biggest steak. We all three ordered steak. Hook me up with your biggest steak. Yeah. He brought out the steaks. I got a steak about that big. They got little steaks like that, and they were mad. They paid the same price as me. But that was just the way it was, because I went in there, I knew the guy. I didn't know him, but I had been in there enough on...
Developed a relationship.
Yeah. So, again, getting out made it so much easier, getting out, want to do stuff. It just made it go by faster. Being stuck in your barrack room and you're sitting there moping around, you're in an environment where it's just gonna fester till you, I don't know.
Drives you crazy.
Yeah, until you pop, put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, getting out that last year, when I got my orders to come back to the States, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave Germany. I wanted to stay there. And that's why I've always said I want to go back to Germany. I want to go back and see the stuff I didn't get to see. And with a little help, with a little luck and some hard work, I'll be able to make it back home. It's not going to be tomorrow, and it's not going to be next week, and it's not going to be next month, but maybe next year, maybe the year after, maybe 5 years. But I will make it back over. I get to see the stuff that I didn't get to see.
That's a good goal.
And I also want to learn the language this time. I learned enough just to get by. Learned enough to read the train schedules, the bus schedules. And one good thing about the train schedules, that train's going to leave at 10:03. If it's on the schedule, it says 10:03. 10:03, it's gone. So there's no ending time. There's no other time on there. It says 10:03. You be there at 10:02 to get on that train.
Well, when you got your orders to come back stateside, where did you go?
I got station orders for Fort Detrick, Maryland.
Okay.
Fort Detrick, Maryland is all right. Here's DC. Here's Baltimore. Imagine a triangle, and here's Frederick, Maryland. Mm-hmm. That's where Fort Detrick's at. Fort Detrick is 40. One is 48 miles and one is 45 miles. So you might as well say they're the same distance. One's from 48 from DC, 45 from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So equal distance. And it was, when I was stationed in Fort Detrick, I didn't go to DC that much. There were times I did go there. I was there to go just to party, but it was expensive. The cost of living around DC and around Fort Detrick and around Frederick, Maryland was expensive. So you did what you could. You did what your best, but
did you do the same type of work?
Yeah, except there they changed my MOS there. I ended up becoming a 76 Charlie, which is a parts specialist, which is somebody that, say the motor pool, they have a person that does that. That's a 76 Charlie that orders the axles, the bolts, the wrenches, the tire rims, the tires. They take care of that. They provide the status on that, and they keep track of everything that comes in, everything that needs to be ordered. That's what I had to learn when I got to Fort Detrick. And it wasn't too bad. I learned it, and I had it down. I got my orders to get out, and I didn't want to get out. Again, I wanted to stick it out, but then I thought, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out. I'm done. I did my time. I didn't use my leave time, so I was able to, what they call terminal leave. My ETS date was May 9th. I got to leave May 1st. So I was happy. I was really happy.
So you left the service in '89.
Yes. And I turned around. I met someone from Wyoming. I went to Wyoming, lived in Wyoming. I got accepted into Haskell again. I went back to Haskell fall of '89, and that was a fiasco. That was all. When you're on active duty, they tell you all this stuff about your benefits. Well, put it this way, they don't tell you about all your benefits. So when I got out and got ready to go to Haskell, I had to go do legwork on all this stuff. And if they would have told me when I was in there, I could have taken it before I got out from Fort Detrick. They didn't tell me that. I could have had funding at Haskell when I first got there. I didn't have that. I had to scratch and claw when I first got to Haskell. And I was doing good. Here's where I messed up, folks. I got all my money like at one time. And the party animal in me said, let's go party. There went my grades, there went everything. By right after Thanksgiving, I withdrew. I only had 2 more weeks on campus to make it through the semester. But I had gotten dropped from classes. In order to stay on campus, you had to carry 12 hours. The hours I got dropped me to 9 hours. So I withdrew. Mm-hmm. Came on home. Or made a home. Mm-hmm. Went to Wyoming and made a home, put it that way. And I had joined the Kansas Guard by then. And Kansas Guard, I went back to being a 76 Yankee. But in the meantime, I transferred up to the Wyoming Guard. When I got to the Wyoming Guard, they changed my MOS. to 16 bang bang, 16 Bravo.
What's that?
I became a 155 howitzer crew member.
That's a little different.
Yes, very different.
That's a lot different than
Very
supply.
different. Yes. We had rounds that were about that big, about yay round. A bottle of water was about the size of our fuse that you had to put on top of it. Certain fuses, you could set them. You could set them to do air burst or so much off the ground. And it was totally different. It was totally different.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. But it's dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Oh, I bet it is.
All that equipment, all that stuff, the recoil when you're doing the fire. Oh, and that gun rocks when you're in it. See, the ones we were in were the 109s. They're self-propelled. And when that thing would fire, that thing would rock. And here's one thing that they don't tell you about. If you're behind a 155 house or that thing fires, you can see the round coming out. But you got to be behind it. And you got to look above the barrel. As soon as that round fires, you'll see that little speck pick up. That was the round.
Were you ever activated as part of the Guard?
No.
No.
I got out right before the storm started.
How long were you in?
I was in 2.5 years.
Okay.
So I was in till 91.
Okay. So right before Desert Storm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right before the storm started, I got out. Maybe a month, 2 months before the storm started. I think I got out in March and the storm started in May, if I remember right. I might be off by a month, but it was in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out right before that. And then that was the end of the military. I mean, that was, they sent me a couple of deals here and there for musters, but I was out of state. And they told me, don't worry about making a muster. I was like, okay. Military was fun. Military was all right. Active duty was better. Active duty was more structured. Active duty had more benefits. And active duty also had, how should I say it, more professionalism. Mm-hmm. Whereas the National Guard, these guys are part-time guys. These guys have never seen a day on active duty. You know, the term weekend warrior comes into play, and that is what a lot of it is. You would think being a prior service in the National Guard setting would be welcome, but that's not always the case. I experienced it, especially in Wyoming. And again, I don't know, I suspect that it might have to do with my, and I may do. I got an honorable discharge, so I'm happy with that. So.
Did you see other people discriminated against as well?
Yes. People of color. Mostly the African American brothers I saw getting treated like dogs sometimes. Worse than me, worse. And also, you ever seen Full Metal Jacket?
No, I have not.
All right. You ever see it and you find out who Private Pile is? You see stuff like that. There are people in the service sometimes that can't do the physical testing, the physical part, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the weight. The weight becomes an issue. And I saw them get treated like crap. Then being a latter part of my cert deal, I got treated like crap because I was on that same program. We used to call it the Fat Boy program. And And it's just another way for them to give you flack. Supposedly it's designed to help you do this and lose your weight and get you back on the deal. And there's no compassion. There's no understanding. No room for any variance. Granted, this is the military. Yeah, I signed on that dotted line and raised my right hand. But there's got to be a little bit of variance. Mm-hmm. You know, if I could do 19 push-ups instead of 20, give me that little bit of variance. Don't throw me out with the baby in the dishwater because I can only do 19, not 20. You know, that's just the way it is. The mentality in the military is, I almost want to say hypocritical, double standards mostly. It's okay for one set to do it, but these guys try to do it, no. You know, I see people there's favoritism.
Yeah.
Anything that happens in the civilian world happens in the military as well. So it's just part of life. But some of it is just, it's like it's a part of the service. And it doesn't need to be, you know, like me pulling duty roster every time there was a trip. Give me the benefit of the doubt, let me go once. If I jack it up that one time, then yeah, ground me. Take my privileges away, you know. Bend my dog tag, whatever, you know. But don't label me and keep me out of every single trip that goes on. You know, I wanted to go to London. I wanted to go to Spain. I wanted to go to Paris. But because someone had a label of me and had labeled me, I didn't get to partake in any of that. But I got an honorable discharge and I'm happy with that. I made it through. All I can say is if anyone's going out there thinking about the service, there used to be an old Army saying, be all that you can be. That's all you can do. And that's what I would say. I would say to someone that's ready to go to service. That old Army slogan, be all that you can be. Give it your all. You know, I gave it my all some of the time, but not all the time. You know, I have no regrets. You know, there might be certain things here and there I would like to do over again, but again, I can't do that. I can't base my whole life on going back and redoing everything. So, you know.
Well, let's talk about the now. You know, we're sitting here at the Chilocco reunion. Why is it important to come back?
Because we're the last. There's no new members coming in. We are the last, I hate to say it, but a dying breed. And our membership numbers are going down every year. Last year we lost 40 something. I don't know what the number is this year between last year and this year, but I know it's up there. And it's going to continue. And it's going to continue to where there's not going to be that many left. Right now, it's sad to see that there's not much staff left. There's very few staff that are still alive that was here when I went to Chilocco. And that's sad, Because I can remember a lot of them being nice. Mrs. Cloud was the one I was telling you about the apple pies. You know, yeah, she got mad, but she was all right. She was nice. I mean, again, she was rough and abrasive, but deep down she cared. And I think that's what mattered to everybody. You know, everybody liked her. Everybody, I can't say tolerated her because we accepted her. You know, she was part of us too. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got her 6 apple pies. You know.
That tells you how much you guys love her.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, there's just different I don't know. I like to include everything about Chilocco, you know. It helped me grow up. It helped me to see things different. It helped me to be independent. You know, it helped me to see things that if something was to have happened to my mom or dad at that time, I would have been able to make it. And granted, I had my mom and dad till they left. My dad till 2000, my mom till just last year. You know, I was still able to do that. I was still able to take care of myself. And I just cherish Chilocco a lot because, again, I did a lot of growing up. Good and bad experiences. I had to learn it somehow. And I would rather have learned it here than to be on the streets than have to learn it. Or to have been at Haskell and have to learn it that way. So, you know, I grew up here at Chilocco. Chilocco was my home away from home. It was my second. I would go so far as to say it's my second home. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Chilocco's a part of me. I'm a part of Chilocco. My dad the same way. He is a part of Chilocco. Chilocco was a part of him. And I'm just carrying on the family tradition.
I don't know if you've said your father's name, but tell me your father's name.
My dad's name was Art Hill Sr.
Okay.
He was a class of 57. Those of you that were in his class, you know my dad. And all I can say is I'm Art Hill Jr. Can't have a party without Art in the middle. I wish that's something I probably my dad wanted to say when he was here, but no, I got it.
Well, Art, what have we missed? What else would you like to tell us before we turn it off today?
Just thankful that this is going on and that we need to carry it forward. This is like I said before, this is a responsibility that we all have. Whether we went to school here for 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, we all went to school here. We all have a, a vested interest in it. Because after so long, there's not going to be any of us left. Chilocco's just going to be a memory. You know, it might be just a memory in my son's mind. It might be a memory in somebody's grandson or granddaughters. But we have to carry that forward. Whether we like it or not, whether we choose to embrace it or not, it has to be carried forward. And again, there's not very many. I was a baby freshman. I've seen a lot of these, they're elders. They're the older classmates. They're what Chilocco was. My dad used to tell me about Chilocco. Chilocco was self-sustaining. They had their own cows, they butchered their own cows. They milked their own cows, they made their own dairy products. The homemaking classes made the uniforms, made whatever they needed. So there was a lot of stuff that was here at Chilocco that was self-sustaining. That over through the years went by the wayside. And we were the ones that were here to experience that. So those of us that were here, we still have stories to tell. And those are stories that need to be told. One way or another.
Well, I'm almost positive that your family is proud of you and the legacy you've continued.
Oh, yes. I'd like to think that too, so, you know, Dad, Mom, you know, I'm doing my best and I'm trying my best. That's all I can say, it's just me. Chilocco, I love you, and you're part of me and I'm a part of you. I won't change that for anything. I have no regrets of coming to school here. No regrets of making that decision to come to school here. The only regret that I have is that I didn't get to graduate from here. That I didn't get to continue on. That there wasn't a sophomore year here. There wasn't a junior year here. It wasn't a senior year here. But I had that freshman year here and I made the best of it. Yeah. I'll always remember Chilocco in that way, in that light. The laughs, the jokes that we shared, the terrorizing of each other, you know, the food. The food was the best part, I think, about it, because we really did eat good. People might not think about that. People might think, oh, it's just whatever, inconsequential. But it was a part of Chilocco. It was still a part of Chilocco. And there's being a part of the last football team, being a part of the last basketball team. I embrace it. I just like to see it continue forward. And I have a Chilocco football jersey I'm going to donate. I got to find it. I tried looking for it before I came up. I could not find it. When I do find it, the memorabilia room will have one of the last football jerseys from here at Chilocco. Mark my word, that is a work of art.
Well, Art, thank you for taking some time out this alumni weekend and talking with us and sharing some of your memories about Chilocco and also your military service. We thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.